leaders for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important tasks in our county. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, the grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county and of those whose interest you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, kindly let's get seated. Next order. Next order. Honorable members, good morning. I do wish you all the best as you discharge your constitutional mandate under Article 185 of our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I lay on the table of the House the report of the Finance, Budget and Appropriation Committee on the Tharaka Nithi County budget estimates for the County Executive and County Assembly for the financial year 2022-2023 without amendment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Godfrey Mulevi. Honorable members, the report of the Finance, Budget and Appropriations Committee on the Tharaka Nithi County budget estimate for the County Executive and the County Assembly for the financial year 2022-2023 stand laid before this House. Thank you. Next order. Honorable Muchili Godfrey Mulevi, Honorable Member for Karingani, Chairperson Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I give a notice of motion of the approval of the Tharaka Nithi County Executive and County Assembly budget estimates for the financial year 2022-2023. That the County Assembly approves the Tharaka Nithi County budget estimates for the County Executive and County Assembly for the financial year 2022-2023 without amendment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Muchiri Godfrey Mulevi. Honorable members, pursuant to Standing Order number 67, the notices of motion issued by one Muchiri Godfrey Mulevi, Chairperson Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations, is hereby acknowledged. Thank you. The next order. Yes, Honorable Muchiri Godfrey Mulevi, Honorable Member for Karingani.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I seek the leave of the House so that I can move the motion. And I have members with me. That is Honorable Kinegeni and Honorable Kenywa. The two members, I think they are enough. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable John Kinegeni, Honorable Member for Mwembe. Yes, Honorable Elasa Kenywa, Honorable Member for Mariani. Honorable members, pursuant to Standing Order number 3 and pursuant to the unfettered discretion conferred upon the chair, there being no objection from any member, and there being two members in support of the leave that is being sought by one Honorable Muchiri Godfrey Mulevi, Honorable Member for Karingani, Chairperson Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations, the leave of the Assembly is hereby granted. Kindly proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I now stand to move the motion of the approval of the Tharaka Nithi County Executive and County Assembly budget estimates for the financial year 2022-2023. That this County Assembly approves the Tharaka Nithi County budget estimate for County Executive and the County Assembly for financial year 2022-2023 without amendments. And Honorable Speaker, with your permission, allow me to go through the report of the committee.
Permission granted. Kindly proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the members of the Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 131 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Section 37 of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2015, it is my pleasure and duty to present to the House the committee's report on the County Executive and County Assembly budget estimate for financial year 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, and on behalf of the committee, allow me to thank this Honorable House for at least giving us a chance to interact, to amend, to discuss the estimates before even we came up with this report. I also sincerely thank the members of the committee and also your office, Honorable Speaker, and the office of the clerk. Specifically, Honorable Speaker, I most sincerely thank one of the clerk, Kedi and Paul, for the support that they give the committee during this time when we are coming up with the report. And Honorable Speaker, with your permission, allow me to just say that the members of the committee, it's good I do lead them so that the members of the public can know the members that have worked for this budget for the last 4 years, almost 5 years now.
Information granted, kindly proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. One, the chair, who is Godfrey Mochiri, Vice Chair, Honorable Mbega Millicent, Honorable Mwenda Gataya, Honorable Lasta Skedua, Honorable Kabir Jones. Honorable Speaker, allow me to skip the mandate of the committee because they are well-spirited in our standing orders. And the same, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that the Public Finance Management Act 2012, Section 131, provides that the County Assembly shall consider the county government budget estimates with a view to approving them, with or without amendments, in time for the relevant appropriation law and any other laws required to implement the budget to be passed by 30th June in each year. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to say the reason why we want to come up with this budget this early, we are in an electioneering period, Honorable Speaker, and it is good, as advised, Honorable Speaker, by relevant authorities to have passed this budget by 30th this month. So, Honorable Speaker, we are on time. With that, Honorable Speaker, the County Assembly and the Tharaka County Executive budget estimates for the financial year 2022-2023 were received by the County Assembly on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, pursuant to the provisions of Section 131 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, standing orders 243 of the Tharaka County Assembly, and the House resolutions of 6 April 2021. The budget estimates were committed to the Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations for considerations. And on behalf of the committee, I once again have the honor and pleasure to present the committee's report on the Tharaka County Assembly and County Executive budget estimate for financial year 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, allow me to say when any document has been brought or is brought in this House, the most important issues that we look at are the legal basis. And Honorable Speaker, when it comes to budget, we are just guided by the Public Finance Management Act 2012, which says that Section 131 of the same, that is Finance Management Act 2012, provides that the County Assembly shall consider the county government budget estimate with a view to approving them with or without amendments, in time for the relevant appropriation law and any other laws required to implement the budget to be passed by the 30th June in each year. The same continues to say, before the County Assembly considers the estimate of the revenue and expenditure, the relevant committee of the County Assembly shall discuss and review the estimates and make recommendations to the County Assembly, and in finalizing the recommendations to County Assembly, the committee shall take into account the views of the County Executive Committee member for Finance and the public on the proposed recommendations. 3, an amendment to the budget estimate may be made by the County Assembly only if it is in accordance with the resolutions adopted regarding the county fiscal strategy paper, and if A, any increase in the expenditure in a proposed appropriation is balanced by a reduction in expenditure in another proposed appropriation, and any proposed reduction in expenditure is used to reduce the deficit. The same says where a bill originating from a member of the county assembly proposes amendment after the passing of the budget estimate and the appropriations bill by the county assembly may proceed in accordance with the resolutions adopted regarding the county fiscal strategy paper and ensure A, an increase in the expenditure in a proposed appropriation is balanced by a reduction in expenditure in another proposed appropriation, or a proposed reduction in expenditure is used to reduce the deficit. 5. Not later than 21 days after the county assembly has approved the budget estimates, the county treasury shall consolidate the estimates and publicize them. 6. The county executive committee member for finance shall take all the reasonably practicable steps to ensure that the approved budget estimates are prepared and published in a form that is clear and easily understood by and readily accessible to members of the public. Then we have this on the same honorable speaker. We have the Public Finance Management Act Regulations 2015, which also gives us some guidance on the same. And it says, where a county assembly approves any changes in the annual estimates of budget under Section 131 of the Act, any increase or reduction in expenditure of a vote shall not exceed 1% of the vote's ceilings. The county executive committee member shall submit a copy of the budget estimates approved under paragraph 1 to the National Treasury within 14 days of approval. On the same honorable speaker, we have the standing orders of this assembly that give us some guidance. And honorable speaker, with your permission, allow me not to go through the standing orders because those ones are in our fingertips.
Kindly proceed.
Thank you, honorable speaker. On the same honorable speaker, allow me to say that the committee and the following observations. The estimates of the expenditure. In the financial year 2022-2023 budget estimates, the county government of Tharaka expects its expenditure to a total of 5.4 billion, comprising of 3.6 billion for the current expenditure and 1.8 billion for development expenditure. On the recurrent expenditure, the recurrent expenditure has been allocated 3.6 billion, representing 66.9% of the total budget in financial year 2022-2023. This already, honorable speaker, it is even above what is expected and what has been guided by the relevant authorities. The amount comprises of personal emoluments expenditure and operations and maintenance expenditure. The allocation for personnel emoluments is Kenya shillings 2.4 billion, which represents 44.36% of the total budget, and Kenya shillings 1.2 billion, representing 22.54% of the budget estimate for operations and maintenance. We have the capital expenditure. The development expenditure has an allocation of 1.8 billion, representing 3.1% of the total budget in financial year 2022-2023. The budget contains comprehensive list of projects to be implemented by various departments and their estimated costs. And honorable speaker, we have the following at departmental level. We have agriculture and cooperative, which has both the current and development a total of 595 million. We have the county assembly, which has a total of both the current and the development of 515 million. We have county public service board, which has a total of 25 million. Honorable speaker, the County Public Service Board has no development vote. We have education, gender, culture and social services, which has a total of 248 million. We have energy, housing and ICT, a total of 119 million. Finance and economic planning, 555 million. We have land and physical planning, 104 million. Then we have livestock, veterinary and fisheries development, that is a total of 102 million. Then we have medical services, 1.5 billion. Then we have office of the governor and deputy governor, that has 142 million and has no development vote. We have public administration and evolution affairs, that is 122 million without development. We have public health and sanitation, 459 million. That, Honorable Speaker, shows that both public health and the medical services have a sum of 2 billion together. We have loans in infrastructure and public works, that is 586 million. We have trade and industry, which has no development, of 107 million. We have water services and irrigation, a total of 151 million. We have youth, sports, culture and tourism, a total of 71 million. Then, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say, when we looked at the document, we had to consider the compliance with fiscal responsibility principles. The Public Finance Management Act 2012 requires that in preparing the county budget, the county treasury shall ensure adherence to Section 107 of the PFM Act 2012, which provides that over the medium term, a minimum of 30% of the county government's budget shall be allocated to the development expenditure. We have the county government expenditure on wages and benefits for the public officers shall not exceed a percentage of the county government total revenue as prescribed by the county executive member for finance in regulations and approved by the county assembly. The budget allocation for personnel emoluments for the county currently stands at 2.2 billion of the total budget, representing 44.36. That's above the threshold provided in Regulation 25 of the PFM Act, Regulations 2015, which caps it at 35%. The computation is provided here below. Honorable Speaker, allow me to say, on the same, we have agriculture and cooperative departmental budget. Then we have personnel emoluments. We have at the ratios. Honorable Speaker, allow me to say on the same, the ratio in agriculture and cooperatives, it is at 16%. Then we have county assembly at 46%. This is why, Honorable Speaker, the assembly does not have a lot of development, but what we have, Honorable Speaker, it is recurrent. So even the little that we have, the percentage, we have the development part of it. We have county public service board at 58%, of which I also said it has no development. We have education, gender, culture and social services. That is at 62%. 62%. Then we have energy, housing and ICT at 15%. We have finance and economic planning at 13%. Lands and physical planning at 27%. Livestock, veterinary and fisheries at 49%. Medical services at 73%. Honorable Speaker, we know that with salaries, Honorable Speaker, the medical services, we have a lot of money and finances going to salaries, especially to medical services, Honorable Speaker, putting to consideration that a lot is devolved. We have office of the governor and the deputy governor at 99%, public administration and evolution at 78%, public health and sanitation at 55%, loans in infrastructure and public works at 10%, trade and industry at 80%, water services and irrigation at 21%, youth, sports, culture and tourism at 30.8%. From the tabulations, the Department of Trade and Industry at 80.9%, public administration and information affairs at 78%, medical services at 73%, education, gender, culture and social services 62%, county public service board 58%, public health and sanitation 55%, livestock, veterinary and fisheries development at 49.5%, county assembly at 46%, and office of the governor and deputy governor at 39.3% in personnel costs. Then we have the same compliance with the approved budget framework. Section 108(1) of the Public Finance Management Act provides that a county government may, with the approval of its county assembly, deviate from the financial objectives in the relevant county fiscal strategy paper, but only on a temporary basis, and only if the deviation is required because of a major natural disaster or some other significant unforeseen event. Section 108(3) requires that the county treasury provide a report to the county assembly regarding the deviation from the fiscal responsibility objectives. Honorable Speaker, when we considered we compared the proposed budget estimate and the county fiscal strategy paper, then the deviation was minimal. And with that, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that since the members have the same table with them in the report, allow me, Honorable Speaker, to skip that because it is minimal.
Kindly proceed.
And Honorable Speaker, on the issue of accuracy, format and consistency of the budget figures, we have the Public Finance Management Act 2012 emphasizes on the clarity and consistency of the budget information to the extent that it is easy to understand and accessible. Specifically, Section 132A and B linked together with Section 131(6) of the PFM Act 2012 provides for clarity of the budget document. The budget estimates were clearly presented in both in the program-based budget and the line budget. Honorable Speaker, the estimates of the revenues, the expected expenditure will be financed by equitable share from the national government, grants, loans, and donations from the national government, development partners, and own source revenue. The sources are as follows: equitable share, that is 4.2 billion. Then we have conditional grants, that is from the national government at 229 million. We have loans and donations from development partners at 696 million. Then we have local revenue at 350 million. We have the equitable share, Honorable Speaker, for the county of the Tharaka Nithi at 4.2 billion as contained in the approved budget policy statement 2022. Then we have the following as the conditional grants from the national government. The supplement for construction of county headquarters at 76 million. Then we have leasing of medical equipment at 153 million. That is totaling to 229 million, as I had said earlier. Then we have loans and grants from development partners. This consists of the following. We have Daninda grant of 5.6 million. We have ASBSP grant at 16 million. We have Kenya Information Settlement Program at 20 million. We have Emergency Locust Response Project at 45 million. We have Kenya Climate Sports Agriculture at 350 million. Then we have other conditional grants of 258 million, of which, Honorable Speaker, this we are waiting still for guidance of such conditional grants, what they are supposed to do. Because when it comes to conditional grants, Honorable Speaker, the donors give guidelines. So still, we don't have that guideline until now, but we have the promise with us, Honorable Speaker. That is a total of 698 million, as I had said earlier, of the loans and grants. 696 million. Own source revenue. The county own source revenue is projected at 350 million in the fiscal year 2022-2023. In the case in the last 3 financial years, the review of the own source revenue performance in previous 3 financial years indicates that the internal revenue figures for the current financial year are still over-ambitious. It is conclusive to assert that the major technological reforms that have been initiated in various revenue ends are yet to deliver upward surge of revenue growth and expansion of the revenue basket. It is worth noting that the County Executive Committee member in charge of finance and economic planning in our submissions attributed this to the effect of COVID-19 and was optimistic that in the next financial year the targets will be achieved now that the COVID-19 restrictions have been lifted. We also, Honorable Speaker, believe that our people will own our county and they will now pay the revenue so that we can have the services, Honorable Speaker, that they need. So, Honorable Speaker, I believe with the 50 million, it is achievable. Then we have general recommendations. The review of the property tax rates across the sub-counties, since the existing valuations are outdated and weakly automated. So we believe that, Honorable Speaker, the tactics that we use to change the people of Tharaka Nithi, those are the rates of 1980s. And we believe that with the cost of living, also we need also, Honorable Speaker, to review the same. On the same, Honorable Speaker, the County Public Service Board should establish an optimal staffing structure to ensure expenditure on personnel emoluments complies with Regulation 25(1)(b) of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2015. On the same, Honorable Speaker, we earned the submissions by the County Executive Committee member in charge of finance on the budget estimates for financial year 2022-2023. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to go through them so that honorable members can know where we stand as per now.
Kindly proceed.
Pursuant to Section 130 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the County Executive Committee member in charge of finance and economic planning made the submissions below. Key budget policies. The main budget policies that have guided the preparation of 2022-2023 budget are outlined in the strategy put in place to identify the priorities to be funded in the medium term in the County Fiscal Strategy Paper 2022. The strategy that was adopted involved prioritization of key sectors and functions to maintain a balanced budget where total expenditure is equal to total expected revenues, hence no need to deficit financing measures. To ensure that development priorities give attention to ongoing and restored projects, county flagship projects, and operationalization of completed projects. This essentiality entails giving priority to development projects that have highest return and benefits to the residents. Then we have 3. The general goal is to gear expenditure towards supporting recovery from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic through implementation of the county COVID-19 recovery and the engineering strategy adopted by the Honorable County Assembly. Then we have 4. Ensure the cash flows, procurement, and implementation plans are harmonized to ensure coherence and consider resource constraints. Then we have 5. Ensuring public participation and feedback mechanism, especially in giving priority to selection of projects for funding. Then we have 6. Deputy financing policy. The county has no plans to follow long-term. The priority is to ensure that short-term debt facilities arising from pending bills are settled accordingly. Then we have fiscal responsibility principles. In line with the Kenya Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the PFM regulations, and keeping with present and above board management of public finance, the government has adhered to fiscal responsibility principles as set out in statutes, whereby the county government development expenditure as a percentage of total budget has been above the 30% minimum threshold set out in the PFM Act. Despite the constraints in collection of local revenue, the development expenditure are expected to fall within the stipulated legal requirements of a minimum of 30% as development expenditure during financial year 2022-2023 and medium term MTEF. The county treasury aims to manage public finance in accordance with fiscal responsibility principles and shall not exceed the limits stated in the regulations. In managing the county government's public finances, the county treasury shall enforce the following fiscal responsibility principles. 1. Ensure adherence to the ratio of development to recurrent of at least that is 70 on annual basis and over the medium term as set out in legal framework, section 107(2) of the PFM Act 2012. In the financial year 2022-2023, the development to recurrent ratio is 33 to 67. Regulation 25(1)(b) of the PFM Act, county government requires that the county wage bill shall not exceed 35% of the total revenue. Hence, the county government will respect ratios guiding the wage levels. The allocation to salaries in the financial year 2022-2023 is 40.2% of the total county budget. Hence, the need to put in place measures to address the same in the medium term to reduce the ratio to 35%. The county government will make prompt payments for contracted goods and services. Then we have the county government recurrent expenditure shall not exceed the county government's total revenue. The total recurrent budget is in the financial year 2022-2023 will be about 67% of the total county revenues. Then we have over the medium term a minimum of 30% of the county government budget shall be allocated to the development expenditure. In the medium term, the projected county allocation for development is expected to be at least 33%. Over the medium term, the government borrowing shall be used only for the purpose of financing development expenditure and not for recurrent expenditure. The county debt shall be maintained at a sustainable level as approved by the county assembly. The fiscal risk shall be managed prudently. Reasonable and degree of predictability with respect to the level of tax rates and tax basis shall be maintained, considering any tax reforms that may be made in the future. Then we have to ensure there is sound fiscal policies and uniform practices for managing county resources. We have to ensure that there is equitable sharing of burdens and benefits of the use of resources and public borrowing between the present and future generations. Thus, the county government shall make prudent policy decisions today so that it does not impose unnecessary debt burden on future generations. Then we have to ensure that the development portfolio is not crowded out by increasing wage burden. Honorable Speaker, we have a table in our budget of the county objectives for the county government implemented as explained with respect to the county fiscal strategy paper and the prevailing emerging economic needs. And with your permission, allow me, Honorable Speaker, to say the same valuations. As I said earlier, we have them in our budget, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to county leasing revenue, Honorable Speaker, as yesterday, it was stipulated very well by the CEC in charge of the docket. I think, Honorable Speaker, the same we have it. Also we'll also have it in our finance bill. And I think, Honorable Speaker, some of the areas that we need to get revenue from, that is own revenue, the land, adelates, plot lets, single business permit, sales fees, market and slaughter, vehicle parking, house and stores, hire of ore and lorry, of which, Honorable Speaker, this time we don't intend to get anything from the same, because the last time we had projected amount of 370,000, but Honorable Speaker, we did not achieve that. We have plan approval fees, we have weights and measures, penalties, livestock sales, Mount Kenya Lodge, local tourism, that is the Kenondoni. As yesterday we had a statement of the same. So, Honorable Speaker, I think it is the high time that we get that statement here, so that it can clarify some of the issues as they are raised by one honorable member. We have the transfer application and adjudication. We have search fees, minute extracts. We have advertisements. We have miscellaneous. We have public health plan approval, school inspection, food premises permit. We have liquor inspection. We have hospitals and dispensaries. We have private clinics permits, of which, Honorable Speaker, they don't pay, since they pay to other bodies. We have the medical examination, and also we have physical planning. We have auto veterinary services. We have cooperative services, enforcement charges, excavation, fire inspection, and administrative charges. Honorable Speaker, as I had said earlier, allow me not to go through again the donors and also the equitable share, since I did it earlier, Honorable Speaker.
Permission granted.
Honorable Speaker, the local received target remains at 50 million, which is estimated based on the county revenue potential. Receipts from the national government are expected to be 5.1 billion, comprising of 4.2 billion as equitable share allocations and 925 million as loans and conditional grants. Honorable Speaker, the same allow me to skip the issue of the expenditure by vote and economic classification, since we have the same.
Kindly proceed.
Honorable Speaker, in summary, the additional documents required to support the budget estimates are as provided below: the budget circular, county fiscal strategy paper 2022-2023, and annual development plan 2022-2023 as approved by the county assembly. We have the budget estimates for financial year 2022-2023 as provided in the itemized budget, including both recurrent and development, containing the following aspects: a summary of the recurrent and development expenditure by department, a summary of the source of revenues by source, including equitable share, conditional grants, and the local revenue projected for the medium, a summary of itemized budget department program, sub-program, project and economic classification for financial year 2020-2021 and projected for the medium term, the list of the departments to be funded as provided in the budget summary therein submitted, the program-based budget for financial year 2022-2023. Then we have the submissions by the County Assembly Service Board on the County Assembly budget estimates for financial year 2022-2023. Allow me to say, Honorable Speaker, the committee also considers the County Assembly Service Board budget, and we have the following, Honorable Speaker, on the same as submitted by the board. The County Assembly Service Board objective is to facilitate the members of the County Assembly to efficiently and effectively fulfill their constitutional functions in a representative system of government by upholding and ensuring the autonomous of the County Assembly in its corporate relationship with the County Executive and other stakeholders is maintained. The year 2022-2023 financial estimates will focus on transitioning from the second assembly to that assembly, aiming on continued registration, oversight, and representation functions, which are key mandates of the County Assembly. Key areas highlights on the financial estimates of the budget. The budget estimates were prepared considering the expenditure ceilings provided under the county fiscal strategy paper for financial year 2022-2023 and as per county allocation of revenue act 2021, since county allocation of revenue bill 2022 is yet to be approved. County Assembly budget is estimated to equal to 515 million, consisting of 455 million for the current expenditure as guided by color, Kenya shillings 30 million for carloads, and Kenya shillings for 30 million for development expenditure. Then we have the program outlined for financial year 2022-2023 as submitted by the service board, and Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that those are things that members know very well, and we have them in our report. With your permission, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that the board and the Assembly has strategic priorities for financial year 2022-2023, which are the broad strategic objectives and priorities for the County Assembly in the financial year 2022-2023. That is enhancement of legislative process. We have improvement of the oversight function of the County Assembly, enhancement the representation law of the members of the County Assembly. Then we have enhancement of management structures, systems, policies, and procedures. Then we have human resource development. We have infrastructure and facilities, of which, Honorable Speaker, on the same, I say that the committee, we had submissions by the County Assembly sectoral committees. As earlier I said, I want to thank the members once again, because when they went through the document, they met their CEC and also they brought their submissions. And with the same, Honorable Speaker, allow me to go through the same, which is we are guided by Standing Order 243.5, which provides that upon being laid before the Assembly, the estimates shall be deemed to have been committed to each sectoral committee without question put, for each such committee to deliberate upon according to their respective mandates. Standing Order 243.6 further provides that each sectoral committee shall consider, discuss, and review the estimate according to its mandate and submit its report and recommendations to the Finance, Budget, and Appropriations Committee within 21 days after being laid before the Assembly. The following committee recommended that the budget estimates of their respective documents to be approved without any amendments. The committee reports, we have the annex with us, Honorable Speaker. We have the Committee on Trade, Tourism and Cooperatives. We have Committee on Education, Science and Technology. We have Committee on Land, Housing and Physical Planning. We have Committee on Public Service and Administration. We have Committee on Transport, Loans and Public Works. We have Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. We have Committee on Youth, Culture and Social Services. We have Committee of Health Services, and also we have Committee of Water and Development and Natural Resources. Honorable Speaker, as guided, we had public participation on the same, Honorable Speaker, and pursuant to the provision section 131 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and 243 of the Tharaka County Assembly Standing Orders, the County Assembly of Tharaka through newspaper advert informed the general public on the public participation of the following. 1. Tharaka County Assembly budget estimate for financial year 2022-2023. Also, we had Tharaka County Executive budget estimate for the financial year 2022-2023. Pursuant to the provision of Article 196(1)(a) and (b) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, linked together with Section 87 of the County Government Act 2012, the committee conducted public hearings here and so on March 17th. We are at Chuka Irambangombe at Chuka Transnational Hall at 10 a.m. We have on 18th March at Tharaka CDF or Marimanti. On 19th Mala at the Chogoria Sub-County or members of the public, civil society organizations, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations were encouraged to participate in this process by making their submissions in the venues above or through written memoranda. Written views or memoranda on the budget estimates were to be delivered to the office of the clerk or emailed to the Tharaka Nithi email on or before 19th March 2022. Copies of the budget estimates were to be obtained from the office of the clerk, county assembly office, or the county assembly website. We have the committee of submissions on the county executive and the county assembly budget estimates. In consideration of the budget estimates, the committee was required to be faithful in verifying that the budget has been aligned to approved plans and policies. It has lived within the tenets of the underpinned law. The resources being requested have been accounted for in the program-based budget, and it has observed the principles of equality and equity. Before making any recommendations on the annual financial estimates, the committee was required to take into account the view of the sectoral committees, the public, and the county executive committee member for finance, of which it complied. The committee observed that the above requirements and other legal requirements had been met and the relevant submissions had been made. In light of the above, the committee recommended that the county assembly approves the county assembly and the county executive budget estimate for financial year 2022-2023 as submitted on 9th March 2022 without amendments. Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations recommends that the county assembly approves the budget estimate for the county executive and county assembly for financial year 2022-2023 submitted to the county assembly on 9th March 2022 without amendments. It is the committee's humble submissions and the county assembly adopts its report on the budget estimate for the county executive and county assembly for financial year 2022-2023. Honorable Speaker, that is the report of the committee. And Honorable Speaker, I think the committee was thorough, especially when it comes, this being our last budget in this house, this assembly. But I believe, Honorable Speaker, as we pass it, majority of us, we are going to come back and utilize it. So, Honorable Speaker, I move the motion, and I honorably request Honorable Kenywa, MCA Mariani, to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mchiri Godfrey Mulevi, Honorable Member for Karingani, Chairperson, Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriation. Yes, Honorable Member for Mariani, Honorable Elastas Kenywa. Thank you, Honorable Elastas Kenywa, Honorable Member for Mariani. Honorable Members, pursuant to Standing Order 73(1), allow me now to propose a question that this County Assembly approves the Tharaka Nithi County budget estimates for the County Executive and County Assembly for the financial year 2022-2023 without amendments. Honorable Members, the floor is now open for debate. Yes, Honorable Elastas Kenywa, you spoke to the question pursuant to Standing Order 106.
Pardon?
I'm saying,
thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, sorry.
Mr. Speaker.
No, I'm saying you proposed, so you can just proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support Mr. Speaker.
I'm saying that you did not reserve your submission, but with the discretion of this chair, kindly proceed.
I support Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the committee budget, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, being the member, there was time for scrutiny of this budget, Mr. Speaker. And having done all that scrutiny, Mr. Speaker, having seen all legal bases have been followed, Mr. Speaker, all processes of budget making, Mr. Speaker, were followed, Mr. Speaker. And in our observation, Mr. Speaker, we find that this report budget will be approved without amendment, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, it's also my humble request of this House, Mr. Speaker, to approve this budget, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Elastas Kenywa, Honorable Member for Mariani. Honorable members, the floor is still open for debate. Yes, Honorable Minority Leader, Honorable Member for Mozambique, Honorable Wilson Nyaga, Muisraeli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to support the approval of the budget 2022-2023, Mr. Speaker. From the Speaker, we are ending our tenure here for 5 years, Mr. Speaker. Then there will be a continuation of our government, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Chair and his entire committee for the work done, Mr. Speaker. It is self-collaborate. They is stating and showing item by item, Mr. Speaker, and it is capturing the need of the committee. So I support.
Thank you, Honorable Wilson Nyaga, Honorable Member for Mozambique. Yes, Honorable Hanita Karemi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support. And Mr. Speaker, I have a few issues to say. Mr. Speaker, I wish after we are sworn in the next assembly, we will have a supplementary. Hereby, I will request the then Chair Budget and Appropriations to have an amendment and increase on the budget allocated to water, being that the Tharaka County is facing a lot of water shortage, so that you can have both domestic and irrigation water getting to every resident that can be reachable within the Tharaka County. Mr. Speaker, I believe we've had successful stories of the past budget that we've passed. So I believe we'll still support this budget so that we can have other successful stories, because like this month, we've officially handed over to the hospital management the Chuka General Hospital, that we pray that the next government will make it a level 5 so that it can give better services to the Mwananchi, and also an uplift of the Marimanti Hospital so that it can give better services. Mr. Speaker, I have an issue with the County Assembly Service Board. I pray the members that will be nominated in the next assembly will have their game. And I am also praying that the next assembly won't be sworn in this Mabati structure. We've sung that song, Mr. Speaker, for the last 4 years, but I pray something will be done about it. Because I have seen the board saying that we have a budget for the refurbishment of the county assembly chambers. I don't know if it is these chambers that are being refurbished for us. So I am praying for a better county assembly next when you come in. And Mr. Speaker, if you note, when you were sworn in on the 5th of September 2017, we had a budget of 100 million that was in the assembly that was spending. And Mr. Speaker, as you do the chambers, we pray that now bearing in mind that we've had the houses of the governor and the deputy governor, that our speaker also gets an official residence in the Tharaka County, so that we cannot have a speaker whom we cannot see when we want to see him in an agency. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I support, reminding us...
Honorable Anita, I'm not part of the debates, but I believe you are aware you can take judicial notice that the speaker's residence is 90% complete.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I believe maybe the members I have not seen it as a member also, but I pray that when it is 100% complete, we'll be called to officially open it so that we can celebrate at least a milestone when we are members. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I support and remind the members that in the Tharaka reune medho na kazi ni kazi.
Thank you, Honorable Anita Karemi. Yes, Honorable Peterson Mwirigi, the Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to rise to support the of the budget estimate, Mr. Speaker. I would want to applaud the chairperson and the committee who have done a very good job, and unanimously, together with my other members, would request chair budget to continue even in the next regime. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. Thank you so much, Chairperson, because your committee has, together with the executive, have allocated over R1 billion to health, and we know health is very fundamental, especially to our people. So we commend that, and also some good allocation to our roads and to other sectors. So in that regard, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Peterson Mwirigi, Honorable Member for Uganga. Yes, Honorable Karen Karibu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Support the report and budget estimates. It was candid.
Thank you, Honorable Karen. Yes, Honorable Member from Magumuni, Honorable Justin Kevenji.
Lucky one of the crackers just bowed. He looks like he's too tall. You are not able to see me. So in the next arrangement, Mr. Speaker, I'm suggesting that your chair be raised to some standards, because
I believe Honorable Justin Kevenji, that is purely on a right touch. Because I'd given 4 members on this side to opportunity to contribute. So it was only fair to just that I moved to the other side.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start by congratulating the members of that particular committee. They have done a good job. They have really copied the document, and the document is okay. So, Mr. Speaker, I have seen the recommendations which are being fronted. One is on the wage bill, and every other time that any other budget or supplementary comes here, that is always the first recommendation. Mr. Speaker, I think this is the high time the executive looks at this issue of wage bill in priority. Mr. Speaker, we have unexploited resources. We have unexploited resources, Mr. Speaker, in the Department of Agriculture, and I believe if we decided to change this county into a seed production county, because seeds are never enough in Kenya. Seeds are never enough in Kenya, and Kenya does a lot of importation, and we have first lands in the lower sites. So, Mr. Speaker, I think if there is a change of policy, we can definitely utilize these people that we think that there are so many in the wage bill, and of course make use of them, and they of course end up becoming quite productive. Because when you look at the local revenues, we are just circulating. Every other time we normally come up with around 350 million, which we have never surpassed that target, Mr. Speaker. So I think this is the right time that we looked outside the box, and I am seriously proposing that we go the way of agriculture. Because if we have big farms producing seedlings, and of course, like you know, we are just in the season of giving these seedlings, and we would be giving these seedlings. We provide for ourselves or buy internal, and of course, even sell to other counties. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that if we can go towards that direction, that element of wage bill will be addressed once and for all, because now it will be surpassing in terms of corrections and definitely our cash flow. from the national grants and from their own revenues, because their own revenues have no limit. Their own revenues have no limit, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the issue number 2 on how to increase our revenues, they have already touched on changing the rating law. Mr. Speaker, I think that there couldn't be a problem, because the current changes in our plots appears to be on the higher side. But there is this area that is not tapped, Mr. Speaker, or the people we call private developers. You realize that there are so many structures which have come up in purely agricultural land. Those people have never done change of use. They just have their land, and they of course doing a lot of business in these particular pieces of land, and they don't pay late to the government. So, Mr. Speaker, I feel if they start first of all actualizing the master plans that we have, because I think we have one for Malimanti, another one for Chogoria, another one for Chuka, and of course now we have the Kadwana municipality. If we actualize those plans, Mr. Speaker, we will definitely have a bigger area to capture this revenue for rates. Because now, whenever we talk of rates, we only target those people who are given plots in the indigenous parcels of land which belong to the government. And Mr. Speaker, sometimes it becomes unfair. Like, you know, I was a surveyor, so of course I cannot deny that I don't have a plot within the county I have. And the kind of rates that I pay, sometimes, okay, I have not even developed what I have. But the kind of rates that I pay, and I'm not talking on my behalf, I'm talking on behalf of the citizens of Tharaka and the others who own plots here. They are made high. So let the executive the executive make sure that the change of use laws are adhered to. And when they do that, of course now they will just get now to the rating law. Because even if they did it for those particular markets, like you go to Chuka, I will give an example. You go to Chuka. In the registers, you realize that we have around 300 people with plots. But when you move towards Dagani, when you move towards Gatua, when you move towards Mugirirwa, which is in Mugwe Ward, you realize so many constructions, and those people don't pay any rates. So, Mr. Speaker, that is an area where we have a lot of untapped revenues, and nobody can tell us that someone who has put up a solid building, who doesn't pay even a single cent to the county. And of course, when they start making noise, they make the highest noise that they have no provisions for water, they have no provisions for good roads, they have no provisions for correction of the waste that they generate themselves in those buildings. It is unfair to those people who pay rates simply because they were given plots by the government. So, Mr. Speaker, as I support this budget, I can see somebody is in big area. I don't know where you want to rush to. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the budget, but when it comes to those two areas of implementation, I highly recommend that they look outside the box so that at least we meet our standards. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Magumoni, Honorable Justin Kevenji. Honorable Members, the floor is still open for debate. Yes, Honorable Member for Marimanti, Honorable Susan Gogi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for this opportunity. We first want to thank the Committee on Budget that was initially formally led by Honorable Millicent and now Honorable Gaturo for the fact that they brought us as an assembly and as Tharaka County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know this is the last moment that I'm discussing the budget in this house. I'm very certain that next year I'll get to this house. And I want to wish all the members well. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've moved around across the county, and I'm very, very sure that most of these members will be back in the next assembly, ready to implement this budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, I only work from concern that I wish these members, as they continue serving this county, can really address the issue of public participation, Mr. Speaker, sir. I've heard Honorable Gaturo I've already said that there were public participations across the county, not the ones. Mr. Speaker, sir, we've had an issue with this. Since 2017, the public participation in this town has been very, very, very poor. I know there is a Public Participation Act. One time, not even once, I've questioned the tour of the public participation concerning the budget. As a Speaker, sir, we are well aware that the reason as to why we have devolution is so that development can trickle down to the community, and development should start with them. It is the community that understands the issues and their issues. So, Mr. Speaker, as I look at this budget, I just don't want to oppose it, but then my concern is, even as budget is being made, as money is being allocated to various departments, do people know, has the budget really captured the needs of the people of the Tharaka County? That is a major concern. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I request that we as this House should strive to see that the people in this community have come up to say the issues, and that the issues are really addressed. And that when as we move on to implement this budget, as us as MCs who represent the people, ensure that it is implemented to the letter and the money allocated is well spent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Susan Goge, Honorable Member for Marimanti. Yes, Honorable Samuel Muheli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry, I lost my voice in seeing the distribution programs. Mr. Speaker, I like to support this budget proposal or budget report, and recommend that in the next assembly, which will not be a member, I recommend the current chair budget to those who come back, of which I believe they come back 70% or 80%. Initially they were to come back, all of them, but some are in Azimio. So, Mr. Speaker, I recommend Honorable Aturo to continue being the chair of this budget committee. And Mr. Speaker, the concerns that Honorable Susan has had for the last 5 years of public participation, also play hand that she gets the human rights for Tharaka Nithi. We shall be maybe doing some benchmarking with National Government Affirmative Action Fund, its management, Mr. Speaker, how it will be managing in terms of public participation and what have you. We shall be benchmarking. I hope will be the executive arm of the government, and I will be ready to be taught how to deal with the public participation. It has been done in the flesh, and every day is a learning day, and we are ready to learn from Honorable Susan Gu, the human rep that time. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the budget proposal. I'm looking forward to seeing these honorable members back, apart from what I've seen earlier. And I'm also hoping they will pray for me also to get a seat in the executive arm of the government, so that Mr. Speaker, we shall be working in harmony. Having been in this house, Mr. Speaker, I'll make sure I address the concerns of members of the county assembly, knowing the challenges that they undergo as they exercise their mandate, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Samuel Mudeni. Honorable members, the floor is still open for debate. Who is saying mood? Honorable members, pursuant to our standing orders, I have had some members I have had some members allude to the mood of the House. So allow me now to put this question so that I can allow the mover to reply. That regard being taken to the mood in the House, the moval of this motion pursuant to standing order 1064 be called upon to reply. As many as all of these opinions say aye. As many as are of the contrary opinion say nay, the ayes have it. And that being the case, honorable members, allow me now to call upon one Muchili Godfrey Mulevi, the mover, to reply pursuant to standing order 1064.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I like the mood in the House today. I don't understand if it's because it's our last budget this season, but I'm happy that majority of them have wished me well. I know the Honorable Speaker will be back. I know my people of Karigani, they are going to support my coming back. Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that this house, we can be very proud because Chuka General Hospital has been mentioned somewhere. But Honorable Speaker, I know immediately the next government will be in place. The first thing, 100 days has been getting level 5 hospital, Honorable Speaker, so that the same money that we are using there can be used to other hospitals and dispensaries, Honorable Speaker. And I also want to say that, Honorable Speaker, although you just helped me to answer this, we have the Speaker's residence, which is at 90% complete. And I know, Honorable Speaker, after we are through with the Speaker's residence, we will also continue with the development of this chamber, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think the issue of own revenue, as it has been said by one Honorable Kizenji, this is not only the donor of the flesh, but we need a lot of civic education of the need of the people of Tharaka Nithi, owning our county and just being realistic and start paying the taxes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when the survey was done on the scene, it shows that we can raise even $500 billion if the members of the public are willing to pay without them being coerced to do the same. Honorable Speaker, on the same, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Kizenji discussed and said about the change of user. Honorable Speaker, we have a shortage maybe of the people who knows of these technical ones. And Honorable Speaker, except now the BBI never saw its way to the people, to the public, or even to the Parliament, or even to be enacted or to amend the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. I could have recommended one Honorable Kizenji, being a member of Magumondi, also to be a chair, that is the CEC urban. So that because he could have helped us on that field, Honorable Speaker. But I believe, Honorable Speaker, with the knowledge that he has, we are going to utilize the knowledge that he has. Together with me, we are going to come up with some of the issues.
Yes, Honorable Samuel, but then you want to light on what?
Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned. So, is Honorable Kizenji being in his house wasted resource, Mr. Speaker? Maybe we can allow him not to vie for the seat and negotiate for...
Honorable Muliveni, that is touching on the character of the member, and you need to move a substantive motion. Kindly proceed.
Thank you, yes. Honorable Speaker. I am saying that this, I want to show that the world, that this house has members who have a lot of knowledge with them, and if well utilized, they can also help the county. But Honorable Speaker, I say that the same, we came to realize that we have a shortage of the planners in our county, and still we are recommending to employ more, Honorable Speaker, so that they can make, they can teach our people the importance of change of user. Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that we have a problem when it comes to the public participation. Honorable Speaker, when I realize this is a problem, not only on our side, but also on the side of the executive, I and also, Honorable Speaker, to go to school and do a project of the same, why people don't attend to public participation. And when the project are not done, they come back to our members asking why they are not done. I don't know why, but I'm researching on the same. And Honorable Speaker, in the next assembly, I'll just bring a bill on the same.
Honorable member for Karingani, you do not need to deliver that. Because the law as it is now, what amounts to sufficient public participation or not lies in the eyes of the beholder. There is no uniform law regarding public participation, but the Parliament, the two houses, are in the process of coming out with an act of Parliament to guide that process. But according to Article 196, of course, you need to, of course, demonstrate to the Assembly, to the House, that indeed public participation was undertaken. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Honorable Speaker, we did it. In fact, I was very happy when I went to Marimanti, because that's where I take some mbuzi, the goats and the cuckoo that are very natural, Honorable Speaker, not as ours. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that when we were considering the same, remember very well, Honorable Speaker, we went to for public participation, for IDP, CFSP, and those are the areas that the budget considers mostly when we are coming up with the report. Honorable Speaker, I want just a minute to say to honorable members, because we are coming back. Now we are going to start the CIDP. Immediately will be elected, Honorable Speaker. And that's where we are going now to start public participation and put all the projects for our people, so that we can be considering the same during the ADP, CFSP, and also the budgeting. So, Honorable Speaker, I wish this House all the best as they go for their campaigns. Honorable Speaker, I think I also want to inform our sister here, Honorable Chusan, if she goes to the national government, she remembers the problems that we are still facing at the county level, because we have problems that need to be solved at that level. And also, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Modeni was seeking a chance to be in the executive. But I know that, Honorable Speaker, if we express this can't well, he will be there. But remember very well, you will meet us in the same house, because we are not intending to leave here soon. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I'm happy that my people of Karingani will just give me another chance to serve the people of Tharaka. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Muchiri Godfrey Mulevi, Chairperson, Committee on Finance, Budget and Appropriations. Honorable Member for Karingani. Honorable members, pursuant to Standing Order 73-2, allow me now to put the question that this County Assembly approves the Tharaka County budget estimates for the County Executive and County Assembly for the financial year 2022-2023 without amendments. As many as of the similar opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. So, honorable members, there being no other business on the order table, this House stands adjourned until our next sitting.
Okay, niseme mimi naitwa Mulethi Gatulo, MCO Karingani, Chair Budget Assembly ya Tharaka. Leo ilikuwa siku yetu ya budget pale Tharaka ambao tulikuwa tumeonelea kwamba ni mzuri tuipitishe mapema. Ukiangalia sana sana tulikuwa tumepewa ile advice tunapeangwa kutoka kwa control budget, tunapewa na authorities zingine ya kwamba tukiweza, kwa sababu budget sana sana tunaipitisha 30th June huu mwaka, tukaona tuipitishe mapema at least tarehe ya leo before March iise, ili watu wakienda campaigns tukuwe na budget. Sana sana ile sababu ya kupitisha mapema ni tukiangalia ya kwamba watu wakati wataenda budget tutakosha ile mishahara mwezi wa Julai na mwezi wa 8 before wengine waingie. Ndio sababu tukaona tuipitishe mapema, hata before tuende recess tutakuwa already sisi tumemalizana na yenyewe. Niseme budget ya mwaka huu, ile kitu ilikuwa muhimu sana ya kuangalia ni maneno ya still medical services na health services ambayo imechukua pesa mingi sana. Hizo bili zimechukua 2 billion ambayo ni 35% ya budget yetu. Ingine ile tumepea pesa kiasi mingi ni loans kwa sababu ya barabara zetu. Tunaweka pesa kule kwa sababu tunajua ya kwamba tunataka kama county tukue na tarmac mingi bitumen, ili tusiseme kuwa kila mwaka tunaweka barabara molam, tunalima barabara lakini after 2 years inaisha. Ndio sababu tukaona the best thing ni kuweka tarmac hata kama ni kilomita 10 kila mwaka. Kwa hivyo after 10 years tutakuwa tumemalizana na tarmac Tharaka Nithi. Ingine ile tumepea pesa ni agriculture kwa sababu tunataka food security kwetu iangaliwe kabisa. Tukikumbuka ya kwamba tumepeana mbegu miaka mingi, hata huu mwaka tumeona ni mzuri tuendelee na mbegu, na sio mbegu peke yake ya kupanda, tuangalie mpaka ile ya ng'ombe, ya kupea ng'ombe zile mbegu. Hiyo ndio sababu hata hii budget tumeangalia upande huo. Ingine tumeangalia tu ni county assembly, kwa sababu county assembly tukikumbuka mzuri sana inakuanga na kazi hata ya kuangalia ile kazi inafanyika, inaangalia mpaka ile maneno itakayowekwa kwa budget. Hiyo yote ingine ni ile ya kuona kama kazi inaendelea. Kwa hivyo tukiachana na kusema county assembly haitakuwa, tutawapea ile nafasi ya kufanya kazi kama hawana watu wasimamia. Kwa hivyo najua hii mwaka tumeweka hata pesa ya kumaliza nyumba ya speaker, kwa sababu kuna pesa inalipwa kwa speaker kama rent, na tukimalizana na hiyo hatutalipa hiyo pesa tena. Ingine tutaangalia ni maneno ya chamber, tukijua ya kwamba hii chamber wakati tuliangalia kwa quotation ya last time tuliona ilikuwa na pesa mingi sana, ikikula milioni 300. Ile milioni 300 tukisema tuitumie peke yake, hakuna kazi nyingine tunaweza fanya hapa Tharaka Nithi. Kwa hivyo tumesema tuiangalie, tuone kama tukiweza tutaongea na wale contractors ama tuongee na wengine, ili tuone kama tunaweza weka pesa kidogo, kwa sababu maybe ile ilikuwa exaggerated, na kwa sababu hii maneno lazima ifuate sheria, ndio sababu tunafuatilia.